Hello students, today we will discuss one important part of the organism and population, that is adaptation. We all know what is adaptation. We will see how this various adaptation helps the organism to live in various types of habitats. So at first we will discuss what is adaptation. Now adaptation, what is adaptation? The any morphological, physiological or behavioral attribute of an organism which enables that organism to live and reproduce in a particular habitat is called adaptation. So for a long period of time you see that many adaptations have evolved. Clear? If we go on for a long period of time, we will find various adaptation and evolved, and this evolution is not mere external change, it is also a change in the genetic constitution, and as a result this change it became hereditary. Clear? So ultimately it became a hereditary change which can be passed to the offsprings also, from one organism to the next generation. Now we will discuss various adaptations, clear, and various adaptations of various organisms. At first we will discuss the adaptation of desert habitat. In this context we will discuss the adaptation of kangaroo rat. Adaptation of kangaroo rat in the desert habitat. Clear? It is Dipodomys merriami, which is kangaroo rat. It actually lives in the North American desert. And how it is coping with its desert condition. So at first we will see that how it is coping with the desert condition. We will see that there is oxidation of fat. They are oxidizing fat, clear, which is stored in them, and thus oxidation of fat generates water, and that thus they are meeting their water requirements. So in one hand they are trying to meet their water requirements by oxidation of fat, and in the other hand they are trying to minimize the loss of water. So in one hand they are trying to meet their water requirement by various physiological processes, and in the other hand they are trying to prevent the loss of water. Now how they are trying to prevent loss of water? We can see here they can concentrate the urine. So while they can concentrate the urine, this concentration of urine, that means minimal water is released during urination. So that is one thing. Clear? Next is during day they live in burrows. So living in burrows, because we have various methods, like we people do sweating. Clear? So when we are going in hot, there are various mechanisms by which we releases water, and that evaporates and keeps us cool. But what they do in extreme hot condition, they live in burrows, and thus it keeps it cool, and thus they can prevent the water loss. And next is that the feces are solidified. They have solid feces. So solid feces means that also water loss is minimal. Clear? More the liquid, more the water loss will be there. So solid feces material is also minimal water loss. Nasal countercurrent. They have nasal countercurrent mechanism, clear, to retrieve the water which is when they are exhaling the air. Clear? So we know that we have learnt in kidney there are countercurrent mechanism to retrieve the water. Here also they have nasal countercurrent mechanism to retrieve the water which is lost during the exhalation of the air. The air moisture, they also retrieve that also by nasal countercurrent mechanism. So here we can see, so this is the oxidation of fat, concentration of urine, solidification of feces, then nasal countercurrent mechanism, all these are the physiological attribute. And this one, that is the living in burrow during day, this is the behavioral attribute. So these are the physiological attribute, and this is the behavioral attribute which helps it to live in the desert. So next we will discuss that adaptation in desert plants. Now what happens in desert plants? We know that cactus is a desert plant, and likewise there are various desert plants. So you can see here, in desert plants the main stem is green, performing photosynthesis called phylloclades, and these leaves has turned to spine to reduce the water loss. Now this is known to us, and what else do desert plants do? So we can see here the desert plants, first of all, many semi-arid plants like nerium and all, they have the waxy coating over the leaf surface, clear, which is called cuticle, to reduce the water loss. Now next is many of them adapt CAM, that is crassulacean acid metabolism, which is first found in the plants of family Crassulaceae, where the stomata remains open during night, because in desert we know that day is extremely terribly hot and there will be maximum evaporation and transpiration that will create a huge loss of water. So stomata, they does not open stomata during day, but rather this open their stomata during night, and then they fixes this atmospheric carbon dioxide and store them as organic acids, clear. So this pathway is called crassulacean acid metabolism, which they utilize later. So this is called crassulacean. These desert plants adapt this policy to, that is, the stomata remains open during night and closed during day. So that is another point. Another one is that most of them have this they have sunken stomata, clear. Many of them have sunken stomata. That means stomata is generally deep inside, inserted inside, so that many of times this passage is covered by hairs to reduce the water loss. So you can see that desert plants reduce the water loss, clear, by several ways. They have cuticular covering over the plant, over the leaves. So they have cuticular covering over the leaves. Now many of them have follow the CAM pathway, that is crassulacean acid metabolism, clear, where the stomata remains open during night and absorbs the assimilates carboxylation goes on during night, and these are stored as various organic acids, and during day they are utilized, clear. Now many of them have this sunken stomata to prevent water loss by transpiration. And obviously we know that leaves are many of them, the leaves are modified to spines, and the stems are green, flat, performing photosynthesis called phylloclades. So these are the adaptations by the desert plant to live in that particular hot, dry habitat. So here we see that this presence of sunken stomata, cuticular covering, these are all the morphological attributes, and crassulacean acid metabolism. So this is physiological attribute. Then leaves are modified to spine, stems are modified to phylloclades. So that is also morphological attribute as well as physiological attribute, because this stem is performing photosynthesis and all. So these are how the desert plant is adapting itself in the desert condition. Next is the mammals living in cold condition. Now, mammals living in cold condition, we can easily think like seal, walrus, clear. So they are, you can easily imagine they have shorter ears, shorter limbs to reduce the heat loss, because we know that heat loss is the more the surface area, the more the heat loss, clear. So they have voluminous body with lesser surface area by reducing the ears, limbs, etc. to reduce the heat loss. That is Allen's rule. They also have thick fat below the skin, which is called blabber. Seals and all, they have this blabber. This blabber acts as insulator. Clear, does not allow the heat to move out, and as well as this and also reduce the heat loss. So you can see here the presence of this blabber. This is the physiological role, which is the fat, thick fat under the skin, clear, which is helping them to insulation, acting as an insulation. And morphological, we will see that lower, the smaller limbs, smaller ears, these are the morphological attributes which are helping the desert, cold, the mammals living in the cold to sustain in that condition. Now, another interesting adaptation we will see in the desert lizards. Clear, desert lizards, when they absorb heat from the sun, their body temperature increases, and when their body temperature increases, when the body temperature absorbs heat from the sun, their body temperature increases, they move to the shades. And when their body temperature increases to a certain or decreases to a certain extent, clear, they goes to the in the open space where there's enough sunlight and bask in this sunlight. So by the behavioral means, they are adapting themselves. Now next is the adaptation by human. Clear, our adaptation in higher altitude. Now how we adapt in higher altitude? Obviously in higher altitude there is lesser oxygen, like in Rotang Pass, Manosarovar, there are lesser oxygen, low pressure, clear, and that we are not accustomed with that, clear. So at first we may have nausea, we may have vomiting tendency, we may have dizziness, but the people living there adapt themselves with these conditions. How they are adapting themselves? Now, to at high altitude, to compensate with it low oxygen, they have more RBC, clear, they have increased production of RBC. The production of RBC increases in them. Now the binding capacity of the hemoglobin decreases, and so more hemoglobin, free hemoglobin is left, and as a result the breathing rate increases, and the people living in the high altitude of Himalaya have more number of RBC than that of the living in the plains. So this is how these are the physiological attributes which is helping the people living in high altitude to sustain in that condition. So this is how we have discussed a lot about the various behavioral, physiological and morphological attributes, clear, which helps a organism to live in its habitat. So this is what adaptation is.